Hello, good morning, and welcome to this first session of Delivery X Live. I'm Katie Searles, editor of Delivery X, and your chairperson for today. For this first presentation, I'm delighted to be joined by Alan Jackson, VP Solution Engineering at Fluent Commerce. We're going to look at the crucial role of OMS before the buy button. Before we launch into our order management discussion, Alan, a nice, easy question to start off with. Can you tell us firstly a little bit about you and then about Fluent Commerce?
Sure. Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. I'm really looking forward to our chat today. So my name is Alan Jackson, and I've really been focused in the technology space for about 15 years, and more recently, working with Fluent Commerce on solving some big challenges amongst the B2C and D2C retail ecosystem, and in particular, it's really around order management, inventory and availability, and this is the kind of core space where Fluent Commerce is focused. So looking forward to getting into the detail with you today.
Excellent. And just a little bit about what Fluent Commerce do in this space. I believe you've got a slide with some background information.
Absolutely. So just kicking off, I guess, with um, really how we would classify ourselves. I think historically, order management is a concept that has been around for quite a while. Even before the internet became such a dominant force for online shopping and commerce. The concept of managing orders has been around for a while, but I think that has really evolved. More recently, where we see distributed order management, as we would see it, really being kind of three core competencies that shift order management into a slightly different paradigm. So, really, in order to manage orders in this sort of omni-channel world, we need to really be thinking about bringing together the various data streams that are critical to managing orders effectively. So it's really all of the areas around your customer data, the locations you want to fulfill from, the inventory they hold, and bringing all of that together so that you can provide a view of availability and a view of how you want to present that stock uh, across your supply chain and into your purchase channels. And then once customers are placing orders, you're able to orchestrate them in an automated fashion as much as possible, together with keeping transparency and customer centricity at the heart of what you're doing. Um, so where does inventory and availability really fit into all of that? That's really the focus for today. That's one important dimension of what a distributor order management system, in our view, should be doing. So thinking about the sort of more modern omni-channel selling strategies that organizations are aggressively pushing for today. So you really want to be able to service your end customer through a variety of touch points that they may be interested in using, and being able to understand more about your organization and purchase from you. Um, the challenge there lies in the pools of inventory and the kind of more historical side of the business, where stock is sitting, tends to be managed by technology from a different era. We have two different teams that potentially are in different locations and think differently about how they solve problems. And one side is very fast paced and changes, quite quickly, and the other is continuously trying to catch up. And that's the challenge, really, okay, because that really impacts how sales performance, is being tracked through the business, and how we're using our distribution channels. Inventory visibility is really at the heart of that.
And what kind of problems can this complexity cause for retailers?
Yeah, so I think some common sound bites that we hear really is gathering inventory into a single view and doing that at scale. The inventory numbers that we see are really, really high, and being able to process that quickly and accurately, and be able to present that into a view that's in a centralized place is always a big challenge amongst the people that we talk to. Then being able to dynamically set safety stock and protect stock to make sure that we're not overselling. But then there is also an undersell problem if you're not tapping into the range and availability as much as you could. And then that starts to impact downstream cancellation rates and customer satisfaction, return rates, etc. So all of these um, pieces of feedback that we hear, which is a part of a larger data set, really um, become the major dilemmas and the challenges that we're asked to come in and attempt to try to contribute to and add value to. Not getting that right then has a domino effect and an impact into a variety of areas. So ways to measure that are sales and profitability and customer satisfaction, but there are more complex fulfillment execution impacts as well in kind of suboptimal ways in which you're attributing the right stock to the right customers, the right order at the right time. That's always a really big challenge.
Excellent domino visual there. Why can't existing ERP solutions, commerce platform solutions solve these problems?
Yeah, this is a good question, and I think up up to a point in time, I think using ERP or customizing commerce platforms, I can see why organizations went down that path. In a simpler world of a single warehouse or not really aggressive online commerce strategies, which would have been very much a historical view. It was a simpler model. You had potentially inventory in many locations that was all technologically housed in an ERP. You then booted up a commerce platform to sell online. You had some basic order processes. But as you start to add complex business models where you potentially add more brands, you move into new regions, you start to diversify where your stock comes from, you include suppliers, you open up store networks in new countries, or maybe you have to close them down based on market conditions. All of these situations mean that the technology is not really fit for purpose when we talk about ERP and commerce. And as such, has sort of bred this new distributor order management concept that requires a system to be super flexible, and it is able to really close this gap. When you draw those trajectories of fast-paced change and the ability for the business to not be able to keep up, this is where you get this kind of disjointed customer experience where customer expectation is up really high, but the ability for the business to deliver on that can't match that.
Excellent. And how can this problem then be solved?
Yeah, so this is really where things get really interesting. For me personally, this is a passion of mine, and it's not all doom and gloom, and there are ways to solve these things, and that's really where technology starts to take flight. So when you think about how software has evolved over the years, I think there was very much a single platform monolithic approach for many years, and I think we have now um, almost definitely moved into a composable or service orientated or headless architectural ethos, and I think that isn't exclusive to order management or even retail or B2C. I think the concept of biting off small pieces and doing them quickly and iteratively and getting value faster and deploying that and iterating over the change rather than big bang projects is a sensible way to think about software delivery, and as such you need the technology to be able to sort of meet the demand of that concept. So choosing technology that gives you discrete services and a composable approach to rolling out that capability is a really important characteristic that needs to be considered. There's also decoupling the sort of front end experience, both for the channels that you serve your clients through, but also the the systems and services that your internal users, any user interface really, should be decoupled and detached from underlying systems that are supplying the data in order for that user interface to work effectively. That detachment allows greater flexibility and speed when trying to iterate new processes and add new capability. And this is where the sort of API methodology really makes a big difference. And goes without saying, cloud technology and things that can scale and perform at a high level on global service kind of structures means that business can adapt really quickly. And this is sort of a snapshot of kind of common back end data points and services that you might want to expose at the bottom up to your front end touch points that you're trying to sell through. And inventory and orders are no different. They really sit alongside the suite here of services that you see. So kind of zeroing in on that context of inventory, getting a single unified view of inventory is really kind of coming back to the problem statement when you've got these omni-channel selling strategy. A system like Fluent Order Management is really geared towards not just digesting orders and status updates, but it's then using the inventory pools and the distribution network in the back end, that could be internal locations as well as external, to drive more effective order process. You can't do effective order management really without effective inventory control and presentation and centralizing it into a single location. So the business impacts then kind of roll on from that, right? So coming back to how do we measure that and how do we know that that's working? So really, it's about the satisfaction of your customer, your business as well, and the stakeholders within the organization are quite important. So how a store associate and customer service representative does their job on a daily basis. You can't get away from some manual tasks. So that experience needs to be taken care of and needs to be effective. And if it's not, that does get felt indirectly down to the consumer. So you've got to make sure that the ability to be able to return and exchange and all of those other downstream non-happy path situations for customers are done as well as they can be. But then you get all of the key metrics and kind of dollar and time benefits from making sure that inventory is centralized in this way. And you're going to see a drop in cancellation rates, and call centers become less busy, which is a good thing. And your customer retention is gonna go up, and brand loyalty, and people aren't walking away from your brand because they've had a bad experience due to a missed delivery promise, or you said you had something but in fact you don't.
So you're talking about satisfied customers there and people retaining their end consumers. Can you give us any examples, success stories, or best practices?
Yeah, sure. And don't take my word for it. I think it's always important to fact check some of this stuff, right? So cherry picking some examples here of where we've seen success, and putting a number around it to really measure that step change. So in the problem of underselling, where I have stock pools that I'm not tapping into effectively, and I could extend that range and availability, that's going to result in a monetary increase in revenue and sales that I can measure before and after deployment. And a percentage increase, or how much activity does that create through that channel, and we see this sort of universally across any client type, these being two different examples, and that ultimately affects the bottom line and how we're growing revenue. A kind of converse problem, but has just as much of an impact, is that I think I have more stock than I do, or I'm not protecting what I present as available, and then that results in disappointment, and ultimately I'm overselling what I have. So if I have effective inventory and availability processes presenting the stock in the right way, I'm going to get less frustrated customers who aren't going to cancel their orders, right? They're going to be seeing those orders right through to they get the products in their hands. And then you can reduce cost by making sure that you don't have call centers that are being continuously hassled to understand what the status of my order is and why are you now telling me I can't have this thing that you told me I could. So it's all kind of extremely powerful metrics that are ultimately going to help businesses improve, and you're getting that return on investment relatively quickly. There are other aspects outside of underselling and overselling. So optimizing how we fulfill, picking the right stock from the right location can often mean huge savings in how we fulfill, unnecessary split shipments or fulfilling from a distance that's suboptimal. I might be able to find stock that's closer if I decide to start fulfilling from store is a sort of classic example. And really, again, that's just kind of a cost reduction mechanism is really one of the key benefits for implementing order management. I thought it would also be helpful. It's great to show how other people or the success that they have managed to achieve, but how do they actually do it? That there's pieces of technology that we can provide, but the steps to get there, are never fully clear. So adding some clarity to understand the stepping stones to getting successful metrics like the ones I've just shown. I think really understanding the why and connecting the dots between not necessarily focusing on just how much this project is going to cost, but looking at those previous metrics really shows you that it pales in comparison to the reduction in cost or the benefit you get from the amount of sales that you will generate. So I think its ROI is very obvious when you get into that detail, but you do need to sort of analyze it. I think proving the model for a small iteration, and maybe it's one brand or one country, or it's a subset of your business overall business organization, allows you to then prove that works, and then you can roll it out everywhere else. And connecting that in phases is a kind of classic project approach. And be experimental, be bold. Try different methodologies to get to that success. And that phased rollout approach is can also be looked through a different lens. So you might decide to concentrate on your visibility of inventory first before tackling downstream order processes, or maybe there's one brand or one region that's suffering the most where you can get biggest benefits faster. We also see the complexity of different fulfillment executions being a way to tackle projects in a logical fashion. So maybe fulfilling from a warehouse first and then starting to include stores and suppliers later, or there may be an optimal rollout methodology that works best for the business.
We've got Scrabble tiles now, dominoes and Scrabble. Thank you so much, Ellen. We do have some time, and perhaps you could maybe sort of clarify on a few questions for us.
Sure.
You mentioned early on in the presentation that there may be some retailers here that are dealing with unconnected, perhaps legacy systems, and they can scale the introduction of an order management system as and when they need it across their operations. Is there challenges there? Say people are still dealing with printouts, with spreadsheets, with real legacy systems, and introducing such a OMS?
Yeah, a classic organizational change process that we would see regularly. And I think one of the things we've mastered at Fluent Commerce is a partner delivery approach, and being able to assist our clients through an iterative rollout process. It's very difficult to go from a world that you just described in jumping straight into an ecosystem where you have more modern technology. There's business process change that has to accompany that technology, and that's not as straightforward as flicking a switch. So I think taking one piece at a time and managing that effectively is a big part of it. And then if you don't have the skills in house, relying on that partner ecosystem to be able to deliver that for you is going to allow you to realize that the benefit a lot faster.
Excellent, thank you. We know this climate just now is very interesting. Interesting is putting it lightly. Record high inflation, record low consumer sort of interest and spend in their own wallet. Is this still the right time for retailers to invest in such technology?
Yeah, one of the points I was making earlier around cost reduction and kind of optimizing process is really one of the key reasons why we still continue to see success at the organization. And in fact, probably a heavier focus within the type of organizations that we talk to, looking to reduce cost and kind of bring in more automated process. Order management should be seen as one of those tools that can help you save money and improve process, make things, it has an impact on customer experience at the end of the day. So I do see that OMS is still a relevant tool to be considering investment, and it's worthwhile along with commerce, to attempt to continue to grow the business and diversify what the products and services that you're offering.
There's an interesting point about shipping from store as well. The consumers are increasingly looking for sustainable delivery, for sustainable products, and that last mile is looking at your visibility of stock in physical bricks and mortar stores to be shipped for D2C. Is this something that can help with that green agenda?
Absolutely, and it's a growing topic of conversation. We see organizations hiring departments and people who are really responsible for sustainability objectives and a focus within the organization. So, things like high return rates resulting in a lot of landfill waste and suboptimal transportation choices, just because people, uh, I guess historically, cheaper, faster, was seen as the golden delivery method. But there are a lot more eco conscious consumers who are making choices that means maybe it takes a little bit longer, and I'm happy to spend a little bit more if it means I'm doing my bit. So I think there's the consumer angle, and then there are ways in which you can use technology to assess and evaluate various data points to make the more eco-conscious choice. So if you understand your future replenishment schedule, and there's inventory that's already on the truck and it's going somewhere, using that information can help you fulfill using that future view of stock, rather than having to continue to order more inventory from other locations or other suppliers. And like you say, you do hit on a very important a kind of characteristic, which is using the stock in local stores, and either shipping from stores or promoting click and collect, e-bike delivery, and other kind of green delivery models, means that everyone's kind of contributing to reducing overall carbon footprint and participating in kind of what is really a growing trend.
We saw a very disrupted peak last year for a number of reasons. We have, as consumers ourselves, been faced with empty shelves, with stock that just never arrives in time for big important dates, and trying not to mention the C word in June. Does an order management system reduce the chances of that happening again in 2023?
Yeah, it really comes back to some of the things we spoke about today around inventory visibility. I think if you can't um, get an accurate view of inventory and then present a promise that you can keep, you get into the situation you've just described. You need technology to be able to adapt around those market conditions so that organizations can make changes to how they're evaluating their inventory, presenting availability, executing on orders. You need to be able to change. You need to be able to adapt. And an OMS can't just be rolled out once and then you kind of walk away, and it looks after itself. You need to continuously think about how it's adapting to market conditions, and in certain circumstances it can do that automatically. But I do think that there is still human involvement and needs to be carefully considered, and there are phases and ways in which it can continue to optimize and improve how the business is working.
And sticking with that technology and automation point, because again, AI has been just all over the news. We can't avoid it. How do you see these systems developing further? What is the future for OMSs?
Yeah, it's an interesting question to ponder. I think certainly the advent of AI is sort of no longer a buzzword. I think it's very much at the center of a lot of conversation. Whether you're in technology or not, I think it's hard to ignore. It's going to hit any major channel you're sort of engaged with. So I do think that there is an evolution step ahead of us where there is a machine aspect to the role of order management. Has a sub component where there's maybe more machine learning, there's more AI involved in the process. um, but ultimately, it's only as good as the data that goes through it. And then there may even see a sort of detachment of AI evaluation tools and other systems like order management, among others, where really we have such a vast body of data within our platform that represents order history and availability options and inventory. Um, Very much like reporting and dashboarding, and other kind of centralized tools that we've seen over the past, aggregating all of your AI technology and number crunching into one system may end up being a kind of more optimal approach rather than having AI sort of disparately spread across every platform you purchase and that you roll out in your ecosystem. You might want to centralize that process into one place, and therefore you're getting different data points all coming in at the same time, and therefore the machine can make better decisions based on all the data it has available to it. So it's an interesting space, and I'm keen to see how things evolve. And I guess this is the exciting part of technology, is that it never stands still. We're continuously moving forward and trying to optimize and improve how we can help organizations do better business.
Thank you very much, Alan, firstly for your presentation and then for that additional insight. If our viewers are looking for further information, they can visit www.fluentcommerce.com or send an email to info@fluentcommerce.com. This Delivery X live session will also be available to watch back on demand. In the coming days, it will be posted on deliveryx.net. You can also share it with a colleague. But once more, a huge thank you to Alan and to Fluent Commerce for kicking off our virtual conference.
Thanks, Katie.